Let's do a little update here on the search for Ezedi. Still no body found or no person found, although 2 male bodies were recovered unexpectedly from the River Thames as police search for a suspect. And of course, at the moment, although neither of those bodies have been identified as Ezedi, the last comment we got really from the police was that it is likely that that's where he is.
Yes, it was, and that was on Friday afternoon at around about 4 o'clock. And I'm absolutely, entirely and utterly convinced Ezedi is dead and that he went into the Thames. But it's very interesting that many, many people fundamentally will not believe what the Metropolitan Police are saying.
Yeah.
On social media, there are thousands, if not millions, of people commenting that they do not believe what the Met Police are saying. And that, of course, is indicative of how far the reputation of that organisation has basically tanked in recent years.
So people accusing the police then, Peter, of almost like an easy way out, or they're just saying that because they don't know what to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. There's elements of that. And then there's people questioning their review of the CCTV, which will have been exhaustive. It will have been absolutely thorough. But yeah, just generally speaking, a refusal by people to accept the Met Police's narrative. But on the discovery of these bodies, first and foremost, going underwater and retrieving bodies is a pretty unsavoury and very highly specialised job. There will be post-mortems. I'm not going to go into the graphics of how a body can deteriorate, but they do decompose in water. Perhaps there may be closure for some families who have had loved ones that have gone missing and they've not known what happened to them. I think that's the best we can hope for, that the discovery of these bodies will deliver some closure for some families.
Final story, Peter, while you're with us. Facebook have been told to crack down on sellers amid the shoplifting epidemic, which we've talked about an awful lot, of course. You know, much of the stuff that is nicked, and we're talking often about, you know, high-value goods from some of those big designer shops. We've seen gangs of kids run in and out. They get unchallenged by the shop security, which you can sort of half understand why, faced with, you know, one lone old chap standing there as the security guard and 6 20-something lads, what are you going to do? And out they've gone with lots of handbags, designer goods, phones, whatever it happens to be. And much of this stuff ends up on places like Facebook, on Facebook Marketplace. And they've been, the policing chief for retail crime has called on Meta, owners of Facebook, to force users of its marketplace to verify their identification and location to thwart an epidemic of shoplifting. One is feeding the other, is the suggestion.
Yes, we have a chronic epidemic of shoplifting. And retailers are in deep trouble, not to mention the fact that hundreds of retail staff are getting assaulted every single day of the week. It is utterly unacceptable. The police announced their retail crime action plan in October of last year. There is an element of improvement. Retailers were describing it as green shoots in terms of police attending reports of shoplifters being detained, but it's far, far short of what it needs to be. Yes, I think these platforms, these huge, enormously powerful and wealthy social media platforms, if they're going to allow people to sell on their platforms, then some form of verification should be the bare minimum.
I would. Somebody suggested the other day, why don't big shutters come down on the door? I mean, it depends on the kind of shoplifting you're talking about. I mean, we know Co-op last week talked about, I can't remember how many millions of pounds worth is stolen on an annual basis. It's horrific. There was a machete theft. But bearing in mind, most shops do have shutters on them when they close. Is that an option? You essentially then lock the shoplifter in?
No, this story really goes back to 2014. With the Anti-Social Crime and Policing Act of that year, which basically said that anything under the value of £200, so if somebody was caught shoplifting something under the value of £200, they could not elect to have their case heard at the Crown Court. So it was kind of brought in to stop people having their case tried in front of a jury, to free up court time. But it got completely misconstrued by various stupid senior police officers who then went public and said, if you nick something less than £200, you will not be prosecuted. And that created a shoplifter's charter. And here we are a decade later with this intractable problem. The solutions are, if I may briefly, I feel, retailers, they've got to train their staff in restraint techniques, detaining techniques, and the such like, their security staff. The police have got to attend and arrest people. The CPS have got to prosecute people.
Correct.
And the courts need to hand down sentences that will be a deterrent.